Let's go!
Bingetown, how we feeling today? It's your boy Dave, and I am here with my fellow Bingetown pirate crew members, Brian, Luke, and returning anime and manga subject matter expert, Alki. Today's episode is a very special one for us because this show is very near and dear to our hearts. Today, ladies and gentlemen, after 3 years, we are going to be talking One Piece. Now, specifically, Netflix's One Piece live action. Episodes 1 and 2, Romance Dawn, and The Man in the Straw Hat. Before we get into it, just some usual Bingetown housekeeping, as Kyle likes to call it. The best way to support us is just by subscribing to us on whatever podcast app you're listening to. We also just recently fired up our Discord. We're constantly interacting with the channels on there, so you can find a link for it in the description of this episode. And lastly, if you're listening to us on our One Piece feed, be sure to check out our main channel, Bingetown TV. We have over 400 episodes covering countless numbers of shows. We are fairly confident that there is going to be content there for you that will interest you. Now, back to One Piece. I'm going to preface this by saying that everyone on this podcast is manga readers. We all have pretty intensive knowledge of the world itself, but we're going to be keeping these episodes as spoiler-free as possible. If we let something out, we're going to just cut it from the episode, so don't even worry about it.
Until the end.
Yeah, until the end, we are going to have a ideally 10-minute chat about some potential spoiler stuff. So if you are only watching the show and have no knowledge of the manga or anime, skip that part at the end. Again, we're going to just keep this as spoiler free as possible. We're going to try and attack this as if some of the people listening to this are doing this for the first time. So we just want them to enjoy the ride without any spoilers. Getting into the episode itself, I have to say, or episodes themselves, I have to say, I fucking love them. Sure, they weren't maybe masterpieces. Maybe you guys could argue against me on that, but overall, I still absolutely love these episodes. I feel like I'm definitely all in on all of our MCs, all of our main characters, Nami, Zoro, Luffy, at least at this point in the time. I was shocked by some of the performances that we got, and the fight scenes were definitely hype as well. As usual, just going to pass it quickly around to get everyone's brief thoughts on the episode.
I just want to re-emphasize the level of fandom we have for this story of One Piece. Like me and Dave have been reading it basically chapter to chapter for like
decade,
18 years at this point. So this is something that's near and dear to our heart, more than anything we've ever covered on Bingetown. So this is like special for us. So everything is going to be coming at it from a completely biased point of view, putting that out there right now.
It is going to be biased. These episodes could have been the worst ever, and we could have still found a way to love them.
The second thing I want to just say is that it is like a notorious thing in pop culture that live action adaptations of any form of anime or manga are usually just god awful. So the bar is super low. But with that being said, Netflix pumped money. I'm pretty sure it was like something. This besides Stranger Things, this might be the most expensive Netflix show ever. So the bar was there, like it was a low bar for storytelling, but the production value was always going to be there. The passion of the writer Ichiri, Jesus, I can't even say his name. Oda Sensei.
Goddamn respect on his name, please.
Oda Sensei was working closely on this show, so we knew that there was a chance. And all I'll say is that I'm completely uncomfortable with how much I love this show, and I just think it was objectively good. And I'm ready for maybe some criticisms to be thrown at me as I'm going through this, but I loved it. I've seen both episodes twice in the last 24 hours. I will probably watch them again. Everything that I'm seeing is just like my childhood dream. And I'm just so happy that we get to actually record and talk about this, especially when you take into consideration where we are at the manga. Leaving that aside, I fucking loved it. Alki, what'd you think?
Overall, I think it was a really good representation of the story that I love the most. I mean, honestly, it's objectively speaking a good quality show. The acting is solid. They represented the characters that I've grown to love over the years. I look up to that are like some of my heroes in fiction, and you know, some of the people I look up to have inspired me during like some trivial times in my life. They do them so well, and it's like coming alive on the screen. And I mean, I can't really ask for more. You always worry that a live action adaptation of an anime or manga is going to be a little cringy. Well, One Piece is naturally goofy. The show to me is not cringy at all. I mean, it captures the goofiness, quirkiness so well. That essence is displayed very well, but it still carries over that some serious moments that you really like look for, and what makes you crave even more of the story. And I can't wait to see what's going to be uncovered in this show in this season.
And I'll pick it up there. Hi, I'm Brian, by the way. I would say I'm the most casual One Piece fan of the four of us and the six of us that you'll be hearing along our coverage, but I'm only like 50 chapters behind. So I'm also pretty into it. And I was very nervous for this live action for the reasons you guys laid out, because it just never translates well. And I thought Netflix was going to fumble the bag, but from the minute I pressed play on episode 1, there was a smile on my face, because you can tell that this show was made with care and with the readers in mind. I mean, the attention to detail was great. And like Alki was saying, it's naturally goofy, and it feels like they knew how important it was to capture that spirit of One Piece. And I think they just totally nailed it. So I'm excited for the rest of season 1. I really am.
And just to put it out there, because this actually came out, what time is it? This came out like 15 hours ago. And so right now on Rotten Tomatoes, the season 1 has 82% critics, 95% audience with over 5,000 ratings. That is damn near solidified. It's going to be staying at 95%, plus or minus a few percent there. Amazing. And then IMDb, I know some people don't like Rotten Tomatoes. IMDb has 20,000 reviews, and it's sitting at an 8.6 out of 10, which is just the dream. If Netflix, and they are, One Piece is at the top of the charts pretty much globally, any region you look. So Netflix, I'm assuming they're going to be greenlighting season 2 very, very soon.
They'd be crazy not to.
They would be.
I mean, those ratings are higher than some of my favorite shows.
Exactly.
And like, I don't know if this is one of my favorite shows, but One Piece is definitely one of my favorite stories. It's so crazy to see it getting such like raving reviews. I mean, if it was like a 7.5, I would have been like, wow, that's fantastic.
This is
like on IMDb. So I'm thrilled. We all are.
And we keep mentioning how goofy it is, but what I'm really also enjoying about the show is it does bring a little bit of a darker tone and presence in the live action that we've been seeing, and which we'll get into here in a little bit. But it's been such a joy. I'm having chills on my arms right now as we're discussing this. So let's just get into it. But in regards to how we will be discussing the episodes, just for the most part, we're just going to go scene by scene chronological. The only thing that's going to be a difference is Luffy's backstory. That kind of bleeds into both episodes 1 and 2. We're just going to knock it all out just right at the beginning of this podcast. That's also how the manga started. So that's just what we're most familiar with. But we're going to be doing our best to keep this as short as possible, but there are absolutely no guarantees since we are discussing our favorite thing in the entire world and of all time. So no guarantees. And also apologize if I use the word iconic too much. I just feel like that word is going to be fitting in a lot of these moments here. So just bear with us as we try and find our vocabulary to be a little bit more stretched out, So getting into it. We do open in Loguetown, and we see the man, the myth, the legend himself, Gold Roger, just on the executioner platform. And this is what triggers the infamous pirate era in the world. He announces to the world that he left his famous treasure in One Piece. No, that's all he really says. It doesn't tell us if it's actual money, what it actually is. He just lets the world know that his infamous treasure has been laid out somewhere in the world for people to find. And we get some glimpses of some iconic characters already using the word here in the very intro. I don't know if we want to get too much into that, but what did you guys personally think of the recreation of the iconic execution of Gold Roger?
I'll start. I'll just say that Roger pretty much was full go from the first screenshot that he was in, right? Like even like the teasers, I was all in. The mustache looks amazing. The smile looks great. And just the way he just pronounces that like words, he's just screaming to the world that the pirate age is about to start for this infamous treasure hunt. And yeah, I don't really have much to add. It's really nice that we do get Garp introduced here right away. We don't find out his name until the beginning of episode 2, but this is an episode 1 and 2 coverage. So please have watched both of them because we will be talking in that fashion. But yeah, that was cool just to see them act. They actually went through with killing him on screen, which didn't happen in the manga. But overall, like this is just how it starts, and it matches pretty 1-to-1 with the source material.
Yeah, I think that's the first glimpse of what Dave was saying. They bring a darker tone to it. I mean, you see them just go right through his back. Also, another character we saw a glimpse of in the crowd, and cut this if I'm wrong, but we saw Mihawk, did we
Yes,
not?
we did.
We saw a lot of characters actually,
We
which
actually
Yeah.
see the
you
cloak
kind of
of
missed.
we see a green cloak of someone that I'm not going to particularly name because could be spoiler territories. But yeah,
you
there are
probably
some
know,
like,
Brian.
So just these are the type of things that we're obviously picking up as just based on our knowledge of the source material. We'll keep them brief like we're talking right now, but stuff like this, and we're going to get into a little bit more detailed at the very end when we do our like 10-minute manga spoiler discussion. But yes, we did see Mihawk here. He's been in the promotional material. It's not really a secret or a spoiler because if you haven't seen any One Piece, you don't know who that is. But that was a really cool moment.
I have one comment about the opening scene. This is probably, and I don't want to start off on a bad note. And this is like probably the only quote unquote negative takeaway I have from this whole first 2 episode screening. I just wish that Roger said One Piece, man.
Me too. No,
I just wish he
agree.
said it.
I
I
agree.
can't believe he didn't say it. I was so blown, but whatever. He looked great. Garp looked great. As a reader, it was so great seeing them on screen. I mean, shit,
The
it
good
was
news
just
is
so
Luffy
cool.
says it and coins it later.
yes,
Yeah, so whatever. I mean, look, they have their creative liberty license to do whatever they want. I mean, and we're going to get into how they did use those liberties to interpret the story in their own way while still carrying the message, I think, very effectively. But I just wish he said One
He
Piece, man. It's
still
like
got
iconic.
wealth.
It's an iconic thing.
like I
Fame,
said, we're all going to be using the
power.
word.
We still got a couple parts of it, but I agree. I wish he said one.
Does anyone really quickly have any synonyms for iconic, legendary? Maybe
Shit,
We'll start throwing that out there.
Iconic.
We'll think of them.
Memorable?
All right,
Memorable,
there we
yeah.
go. Memorable. All right, we'll see if we can work that in here. All right, now back to where I was originally going with is we get the opening to a young Luffy who has aspirations of becoming not just a pirate, but the king of the pirates. Early on, he does want to join Shanks's crew, and we see that he's so eager to join Shanks's crew that he's willing to prove his toughness by stabbing himself in the eye. Coincidentally, he was actually trying to aim him for his actual eye, but he missed. So
That scene was iconic.
yeah. Memorable. It was memorable. But yeah, after being denied a spot on the crew, Luffy storms off to find himself in front of a chest, which contains a weird fruit inside, which to me, honestly, it looked a little too fake. I like it didn't like when he opened it up, it didn't immediately scream fruit to me. It just looked like plastic.
I liked it. It was just a little
I
small.
mean, it looked beautiful at the end of the day. Don't get me wrong. And when he was eating it, it looked disgusting. I wish we got a little bit more of like, oh, this tastes terrible a little bit. But you could kind of see from the texture itself that it probably wasn't too pleasurable to consume. Looked very Play-Doh-y. But now our hero is complete, and he is now made of rubber. How did that happen? Yo ho ho! He took a bite of gum. And so, but as Luffy is acclimating himself to his powers, he gets himself into some trouble with this new pirate who's been harassing the town of Fuchsia Village, which actually in the live action it's called Windmill, which is the translation from the manga word for word. So we'll call it Windmill Village, so I don't confuse
I didn't know
everyone.
that.
Yeah, it's like because I had it Fuchsia Village written down, and then they're referring to it as the Windmill Village, and I had to confirm myself for a second to make sure I
That's
had the
good.
right stuff.
No, it's good to know.
But yeah, Luffy gets himself into some trouble. This is where we get a pretty awesome fight scene. This is the most fighting we've ever seen by the Shanks pirates in all of One Piece lore. Like, we have never seen them fight this much. And honestly, what a treat it was. I mean, it wasn't to the power level that we know them as currently, but wow, what a beautiful opening scene, I think, for the Shanks crew pirate to save Luffy. Ben Beckman was a beast. Yasop has quickly become my favorite of the crew members on Shanks' side. Lucky Roo was a beast. Shanks himself, and if you guys, I'm sorry if I haven't mentioned this already, but Shanks himself is actually a fan of the pod. I wish he was a fan of the podcast, but a very familiar face to our podcast. It is Adam Martin from Yellow Jackets. I did not write his fucking actor's name down, so I'm
Javi.
sorry. Yeah, Javi. Inside joke if you guys haven't, for our non-Yellow Jackets listeners. But yeah, let me hear your guys' thoughts on seeing the red hair pirates in action.
So everything up until Luffy gets pulled out into the boat. with
yeah,
the-
just everything's free game. Free game. I know that's a lot of scene to cover, but
No, you covered it a lot. The only thing that I think we need to emphasize is how much they characterized Shanks as a good person, and this is where Luffy gets his ideas about good pirates and bad pirates that he talks about later. Good Marines, bad Marines. It's not so black and white. It's more of a gray world that they're building here. And Shanks is the perfect role model for Luffy. And Luffy is cute as shit. I'm just gonna put that out
I
there.
was gonna say the same thing. I
Yeah, he's
really like young Luffy.
when he's like fake,
he's
when he's
really
shadow
nice.
boxing later, it's so good, man.
Yeah, he's good. And yeah, he throughout his life, I mean, in the first 2 episodes, it's obvious he tries to emulate Shanks so much. I mean, it's already it's obvious like how much influence he's had on him, and he's kind of following his footsteps, you could say, so far.
Like, I'm pretty sure the opening scene of young Luffy is him like checking a calendar. It's not like an actual day-to-day calendar, but like it's all these X's marked off, and there's a pirate ship on the day that he woke up on, and he's like, oh my god, Shanks is here. Like, he is very familiar with this man and just absolutely worships him. And I think they did a fantastic job of showing how much Shanks was an influence on him. And shout out to Adam Martin, man. I think he absolutely crushed it.
We gotta get his name.
Peter Gadio.
There
Thank
go.
you.
Gadiot. It's either Gadiot or Gadio.
Yeah.
Either way, I
More
was
like
just gonna say
Daddy-O. More like Daddy.
Daddio, Peter Daddio. I love it.
I wonder if he's British, Brian. You could probably tell us right now.
Because he
was
does
pretty good.
Strikes
His
me
accent
as
was
Born
good.
in Mexico
Canada.
City
Oh, okay.
Okay, cool. So yeah, he did it pretty.
and raised in the United Kingdom. There you
I
go.
have to say, I never imagined Shanks with an English accent, like in my life.
I feel like I could see it. I feel like he's an English lad. I feel like I could see it personally
Yeah,
for him.
I suppose it fits. I just didn't imagine it that way. It's one of those cool things that sticks out.
But
It
now,
gives the live action show its own identity, and
Sure.
I think that's
And they did the
It's
same
important.
with like a lot of the characters. Kind of, they took their own little spin on him. We'll talk about that more as we come across. But I have two things I want to point out here, just for the first majority of these Shank scenes. So Yasop was the best. I completely agree.
Oh, he is so
him
great.
doing the ricochet shot, the no look ricochet shot into the catch with the double pistols, and then the whole crew, Ben Beckman, they all just shoot at the same time. I was loving every second of that. But here's my thing that maybe it's hot takey, maybe it's not, because it sounds like it might be based on when we were watching. I think Shank's scar looks amazing, but I think Luffy's in modern day is slightly underwhelming for me. I wish it was more pronounced, because that's just like such an important part of his character design. Like I'm looking at a little sticker of Luffy on my laptop right now, and it's just so obvious, like the scar, which you can only see it really in the light in modern day. They did a good job of him as a kid because it's still fresh, but it doesn't really age well for me. So that was my only hot take about this whole thing related to the scars. Shanks looks amazing, exactly how I pictured it in my head. And I can't wait for more details into how he got that in season 16.
Agreed.
Yeah, it's just, I think the lighting also hasn't been doing it justice really either. We're in a lot of dark places too. I feel like for Luffy's scar, and it doesn't really show as much. But I'm with you. I think Shanks's is very noticeable, whereas Luffy's is not quite
Could have been
empathized.
a little, yeah.
But then we get the scene of what starts the story of One Piece is Luffy is out to sea with this marauder, this fake pirate who thinks he's the
He's a
man.
mountain bandit.
Yeah, mountain bandit. Just the casual mountain bandit. And we see a Sea King patrolling the ship, absolutely wrecks the mountain bandit, and Luffy is left fighting for himself in the water. He's drowning, and who else but Shanks come to his rescue. Shanks has this fantastic moment here where he just saves Luffy, looks the Sea King right in its eyes, tells him to get lost. Sea King understands the assignment, dips out just from the sheer willpower that Shanks is emitting from himself at the beginning here. And we find out that Shanks has lost an arm, which what could have been, man. Shanks with 2 arms, we'll never fucking know, but this is the scene that gets the whole story started. Luffy obviously takes a lot of the blame on himself here, but Shanks, being the good guy that he is, really tries to just take that blame away from Luffy and is like, look, I made this decision consciously. Clearly has no impact on Shanks. Luffy kind of eventually deals with it, and this is what kind of sets Shanks out to his journey. So if we have no comments there, we're just going to jump.
No, come on.
Okay.
Come on. I can comment on everything that happened. But
It's so hard not
the
to.
CGI for the Sea King was amazing. Like, I thought he looked
Yep.
incredible. Half the budget of the episode had to go to making him perfect. He looked better than like Game of Thrones dragons. Like he was like that level of good quality. And then the Get Lost was awesome. And I really enjoyed Luffy's young actors acting here. Like I thought it was super emotional when he blames himself. And again, like I already talked about, he was a great part of this.
Yeah, they
first
did
episode.
they did a really good job in showing how much that moment resonated with Luffy and kind of jump started his whole his whole goal in life, you know, and he matured a lot in that small instance, and it was like it was a really good portrayal of a very huge scene in One Piece lore.
And if this wasn't clear enough already, sorry, B Toms, you can go ahead.
No, you're good. You're good.
I was going to say, if it wasn't obvious enough already, Shanks is the original owner of the Straw Hat. And here on his last day in Windmill Village, he gives it to Luffy and says, "You're going to be a great pirate one day. I know this. You know, just you can return this hat to me when you are a great pirate and when we meet again out on the seas." So that is Luffy's mission, to go out into the world, conquer the Grand Line, get the One Piece, and return the hat to Shanks.
I would say that silhouette of him placing the hat on Luffy's head is proper usage of the word iconic.
Yeah, it
Yes.
is.
That is like
That is
screensaver
a big
worthy,
one,
everything.
and they knew that they had to capture that silhouette and make it look perfect. And they did. Truth be told, the straw hat looks like a little fake straw-y to me,
Yeah.
but it does stand out, which is, I think, what they were going for there.
I wish that the dome of the hat is a little too big for me. I feel like
bulbous.
the brim should be more wide, I don't know,
Like longer,
larger.
yeah.
Like there should be a larger radius of brim
Yeah.
rather, and then less dome. But anyway, it still looks good. Maybe Brian's right, but I thought I don't hate it.
Also, the strap on the hat.
I know I
Was
don't
that kind
love
of
that.
distracting anyone?
A little
At
bit.
some points, there is one scene where I'm like, it's kind of like in his mouth a little bit, and I was like, yeah, because
And-
Ace's hat has that, but not. Sorry, this might be. We're just throwing it out there, but I don't think Luffy's ever had it. Did it? Trap? I don't think so.
No, and also Luffy in the show has shoes and not sandals. But it's probably because Brian they want to make things seem kind of believable, you know,
Practical. It's
and like if
impossible.
he's flying around stretching and all this, like he can't be doing that in sandals and a loose hat.
Yeah, he needs to have the.
I guess,
piece there.
you know.
No, that's.
so.
I think that's honestly that makes so much sense. To
And
me.
I'm guessing we're done with all the Shank stuff in the
Yeah, I
back,
think
right?
so.
So my question to you
Yeah.
guys, I guess, just open, is: do you think we're going to get more Shanks this season?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm gonna leave it at. I'm gonna leave it at no. I think that's it.
I
think we
would
do.
also say no.
I'm thinking though, like we might get like a 5-second clip of him like looking out to sea, you know, kind of thing. And if we're gonna count that, sure, but I don't think we'll get.
I don't want to.
more
I'm not going to
interaction.
say anything, but I think there are like in this saga, like he might have been flashed at once or twice,
Yeah.
and it might come to fruition.
I
in
would
the live
predict a
action.
season finale quick appearance towards the end of the season
That
itself.
would be a good.
Yeah,
season
I just think
finale.
he seems to be a fan favorite, you know, from all the
Adam Warren,
reviews.
bro. Let's go.
So
You seen Yellow Jackets?
yes, bro. I've
Just cover Yellow Jackets.
All right, present day now. We have a more grown up Luffy. I think he's actually supposed to be 16 at this point. I don't think that's a big deal at all, but I'm just going to put that out there for anyone who wants to know. Luffy is just by himself, basically gets swallowed up in a storm and has to put himself in a barrel and is just floating out to sea when a pirate ship picks him up. The pirate's name is known as Alvida. And here we meet an OG in Kobe. And we can tell right off the bat that Kobe is a little timid. He's afraid to cause problems for other people. He's really reserved to himself, which is very book manga accurate. You know, Kobe is a little bit of a dork when we first meet him. And I think his literal representation of how he looks is honestly one of the most accurate we've seen so far in these first 2 episodes. And I think Kobe, the actor, has crushed it so far, personally.
I want to say 2 things. Number 1, I guess we saw it with Gold Roger, but this is the first time I really noticed how they're doing the wanted posters, and they're
Oh.
kind of using that as the character introductions, because one of the best things about One Piece is a new character introduction in the panel in the manga,
Mhm.
and that's their way of replicating it in the live action, which I'm 100% a-okay with. And they do the bounties like flame imprint on the screen, so all of that, I could tell by the time they announced Alvida that that's how they were doing it, and I was like 100% all on board for it.
Set the bar.
Uh,
Set the bar.
Number two, one of the things that I was worried about translating into the live action was how every One Piece character is just like the most ridiculous caricature of a thing that you can imagine. And Alvida is kind of one of those characters, as is like a young Kobe. And I could see right when they announced Alvida and right when we saw Kobe that it was great. Like they highlighted the features that they had to, but they made it look realistic
Yes.
enough, but also ridiculous enough to
Yeah.
work in this live action. So like right when I saw these two characters revealed here, I was like, I think we're in good hands. I think this is going to work if all the characters kind of are consistent with this.
Mhm.
I'm going to reemphasize that with the Lucky Roo casting, because he is also somebody that is supposed to be enormous, but they slimmed him down, but they still gave him the meat that he's eating constantly. So yes, you're completely right. Like how they're trying to make it more realistic, but at the same time keep the iconic parts of all these characters.
I told them at the
It's
beginning.
it's amazing.
You could have said memorable there.
Memorable, yeah. But I want to also say for the Want It posters, what we're gonna do throughout this the podcast recording is anytime a new one gets brought up, we're gonna bring up the berries just to keep the power scaling there, because that's just always something the fandom launches onto. Alvida was listed as
8.
I have it written down somewhere. 5 million berries is her Want It, and it's also important to know that.
Berry?
What'd you say?
Nothing.
They went out of their way to not show Roger's bounty. That's like
Mhm.
important. You didn't see how
Important.
much he's worth. But we're gonna keep bringing it up because Buggy gets a drop later. Captain Kuro gets a drop later. So we'll talk about that when they pop up.
Speaking of the caricatures, something that sticks out to me is like I'm gonna draw a parallel to Dragon Ball Evolution. Goku,
Ooh.
his hair looks so bad. You know, they try to make him look like Goku, but Luffy's wearing his outfit that I think anybody who's ever like watched TV or logged into Twitter knows that's his outfit. And it doesn't, he looks like just like some dumb little kid. You know what I mean? It's perfect. And I concur with Brian.
Outfits have been A1 so far. Costume design, CGI, everything I think has been A1.
And Alvida was getting praised for her performance in what little she
Yeah.
got. And I agree, she was fantastic.
I
Better
loved
than
her the display of brutality in the show overall and
Yep.
in the scene. It was fantastic. I mean,
there's blood.
Yeah,
she's
there's-
murdering people out here. It's good, man. It's dark.
exactly. I just that's something that always I know us like where we crave that mature audience
Mhm.
feel. And I mean, in something like One Piece where you don't really get it in the manga or anime, we're getting it in the live action. It's nice to
Add on
express
the
that.
nudity. They show
True.
Helmeppa's like ass later.
Nami.
We get some Helmeppo fan service in the live action,
Yeah.
absolutely. But
Shout out Gum Gum Pistol too.
yeah, I'm gonna take like one more second to just get us into another scene.
Yeah, the fight
basically-
scene was amazing for
Yeah,
Alvida.
exactly. So Alvida discovers Luffy aboard her ship, and Luffy, as always, is quick to antagonize her to the point where she begins her attack, and we get our first live action fight of Monkey D. Luffy. And to be honest, I thought it looked great. I think the Gum Gum pistol was executed flawlessly. I thought how he announced the move, how it looked, was just all incredible. The way he utilizes all of the ship parts, like the stretchiness, I think looked amazing personally.
No complaints.
And I think, like B Thomas has been saying, it sets the tone for, or like at least sets the groundwork for what's to come later on. And even though this fight was only 3 minutes, if that, it still did a great job and had me looking forward to, more fights to come later on.
Yep.
Now we're gonna just jump quickly over to our one of our
Jump really quick.
homies, one of the OGs as well, Pirate Hunter Zoro, who is just in the middle of nowhere lighting some candles, and he is being recruited. Yep, Alki's got the background. It's always been that for a while.
For like
Spoiler.
6 years.
Yeah.
What is
Yeah,
some shit
spoiler.
there?
Shit,
No,
dude. Sorry, man.
No, you're good.
My
But
bad.
Zoro is being recruited by a Mr. Seven who is working for an organization called Baroque Works. And Now, this scene was a treat for us manga readers because we never actually got to see this moment from Zoro. So later on in the series, it gets hinted at or implied that Zoro had been recruited by Baroque Works and he turns down that opportunity. But here we actually get the scene of him turning it down. And this, again, sets the tone of the entire series. We get not only a death, but we get like a gruesome death in Mr. Seven getting cut in half. And I guess before we even get to that death moment, what a badass moment for Zoro, man. I mean, I think this sword fight looked incredible. The way he was quickly wielding both of his swords, like him and Mr. Seven were dual wielding swords. And I think the choreography was great. Granted, we have been a little spoiled with like The Witcher and Wheel of Time recently. So maybe this fight didn't hit as hard because of how great these choreographed fights have been in the shows that we've been watching recently, but still incredible for a live action anime. Like, again, my mindset was probably going to be, this is going to be look a little terrible, and it did not at all to me.
Yeah, I agree with everything you just said. That like the choreo, I was actually going to say the same point. How Wheel of Time and Witcher have been doing it for me with the fights choreographed. This One Piece is living up to those other shows, and I'll put this out there now. I think Zoro might. I'm still deciding who my favorite Straw Hat is from the show so far, but Zoro, his actor, is definitely my favorite when it comes to any of the fight scenes. Like how he uses the swords. He's always using the scabbards. He doesn't pull out the sword unless he needs to, and just the way he's fighting, his actor I think is so far winning in that area of the show. And then I loved the earrings. Like they look just as good as I always thought they were going to look in real life. His three little.
Those are some badass
Yeah, I don't
earrings.
even know what you call them.
Dare I say they are? Never mind. I'm not going to say.
But yeah, just so proud to see our boy Zoro getting the justice that he deserves on the live action screen.
Yep.
So again, just love the violence. The bar setter here was perfect. Not what I was expecting. Honestly, when he got cut in half, I was like jaw dropped. I was like, if we're going this way, we're fucking, let's go. I'm all in for this because it is like the way he brings the bounty. I'll get there too, but like that is stuff we don't really get to see in the manga, and it's cool to see here. But
yeah.
Anyway, we're going to go back to Luffy and Kobe, who are now out to sea by themselves, a couple days worth of food. We learn that Kobe wants to be a Marine and he wants to be able to protect people. And this is another moment for me where Luffy is just being Luffy. Luffy obviously announcing that he wants to be Pirate King all the time. Marines are anti-pirates, and Luffy being Luffy is like, you want to be a Marine? Go for it, dude. Like, I don't care if you want to, like, you can try and stop me now if you want. Like, he does not care about Kobe's, like, what Kobe wants to do. He just wants Kobe to live out what he wants to do. And so this was just a great moment for Luffy, just emphasizing that he is just so carefree, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Kobe was just talking down on himself, lacking a little self-confidence, and Luffy doesn't I think he just slaps him in the face and says, "Don't be dumb."
Yes.
Nothing else. And then he just moves on like that. That is Luffy. That's what we needed, and they're getting it. They're getting little stuff like that right. It's good to see.
He's carefree, but he's also like the most compassionate character of any fiction piece that I've been involved with, and I think that was a great moment.
And this moment just really emphasizes that. Just we have a Marine here on board that Luffy, if he was like an evil pirate as he calls them, would have probably killed Kobe, just stop the evil at its source, whatever you want to think of it, but not our Luffy.
Luffy breaking the mold, man. He's not going to be one of those raping and pillaging pirates.
Yeah, no, siree.
He's going to be like a breaker of a chains pirate.
I'm a different kind of pirate.
Breaker of chains. I like that. Yeah, he's a different kind of pirate. But now we get a look at our first waifu of the show, baby. We got Nami here, who is up to Nami things. She swindles a couple of buggy pirates into taking their ship. Just great introduction for the cat burglar here, and she looks fantastic. I know I stole that from Luke right there.
I'm obsessed with her. Like I am completely in love with this actress. She is a diehard One Piece fan, and she has always been a Nami fan years before she was cast as Nami in the live action. So she's just one of my favorite behind the scenes people to follow for any of this One Piece content, and she plays Nami to perfection. And I don't use that lightly. I say perfection all the time, but this is perfection for me.
Nami definitely has a proficiency in deception, as you can see here and later.
Luke's been up to Nami good.
Yes.
Since he figured this out. I mean, I think she might be my favorite One Piece, excuse me,
Straw
Straw
Hat,
Hat,
yeah.
because her portrayal, I mean, she captures the essence of the character. I think so far to all of them, in my opinion, I think is perfect.
I think
Even
I'm
more
there
than
with you.
Zoro, like it's perfect. Luffy's still warming up to me. It's Luffy, while he's doing a great job, it's like it's Luffy. You know what I mean? Like I gotta see more. I'm not gonna just like say he's doing a great job after 2 episodes. I think he can do it though.
And Zoro falls under that character.
Yeah,
category,
Zoro is
too.
absolutely just that. Zoro's right there. I mean, most people who like the show or the manga, it's usually a battle between Luffy and Zoro as their favorite characters. Nami, though, in this instance, I think she's fantastic.
And for what it's worth, I have always had Nami in the manga and the anime as one of my favorite crew members too. I just love what she does.
I also always
so super competent. She's like the glue to the team. Like she just kind of need it.
she's kind
and
of an all-around
she's-
person.
She's a scene stealer in this live action so far, which is crazy to say when you have Zoro and Luffy there. But
Mhm.
so far, just again, I'm loving her portrayal.
They're certainly making her more capable of a fighter earlier on, which is good to see.
Yeah.
She always had
Sure.
the staff though, like the
Oh, I love her staff.
Mhm.
I think it is so cool. I think it's the coolest weapon of the show so far.
I wanna, like go
I
on
mean, honestly.
Amazon and just like buy one. I know
I
they
just love
have
it's
them
like-
in real life. Yeah.
It just like sticks out from like the center. Ah, it's so cool.
Alrighty, and so now we have Luffy and Kobe finding themselves at Shell's Town, which is just a Marine branch, number 153. Who cares about that? It's just a Marine branch, is all you need to know. Where they stop by a tavern to get a bite to eat. As we quickly find out, Luffy is very into food. But we veer a little bit off the manga here, but honestly, it's still really well done. Just a couple things happening here in this scene specifically. So one, we have Zoro dropping off the body of Mr. Seven for the bounty. We see a strange looking person next to him who notices Zoro and then storms off. His name is Kabaji. We'll get to him when Kabaji comes back at the end.
that
of
was
the
a cool
episode.
little moment because it didn't
Yeah.
come into play until episode 2.
Yeah,
Or I
because
guess the
honestly,
end
it
of
was
episode
something that I missed, honestly, the first time around. I might have been like on my phone for a brief second, didn't even notice Kabaji was right there, but definitely a very nice touch because that helps us transition into the next villain for episode 2. Just a very easy thing for them to do. Storms off, but then at the same time, we also have Nami hitting on some guys here, but they can't be too tall. You know, she's hitting on the shorter kings. So then we have a little girl offering Zoro some food, but she actually accidentally bumps into this Helmeppo character who is the long-haired blonde, we'll just call him Dickhead, who immediately berates the little girl. But Zoro, he fucking wants all that clout. He wants all that fucking smoke, and he decides to stand up for this little girl. After Helmeppo steps on her food, Zoro still takes a bite of the food, tells her it's fantastic, and insists that Helmeppo have a bite himself, which just leads to another great fight scene. And I was like Luffy here. My jaw was dropped. I was just awing at every moment that Zoro had of just kicking some butt here.
Luffy scouting like Howie Roseman right here, just watching the whole
Yeah.
thing play out. Gentleman defending a damsel in distress's honor, picking it off the floor, chose the one that he already squished,
Mhm.
not the one that was still intact. Oh, Zoro just killing it. And again, another great fight scene. So all around, and this wasn't in the manga, correct?
No.
Well, it's like
was.
half and half. It's like Zoro at the
mixed,
point in
yeah.
time, in this point in time, he's already strapped
It's like
up.
reinvented.
He's already
Yeah.
strapped up. He's never
Gotcha.
Zoro was
Yeah,
never
yeah,
in a
yeah,
bar
yeah.
like this.
She
He
brings
did
him the
eat-
rice.
He did eat the
Yeah.
rice cake, mashed up
Mhm.
rice cake. It was mixed with dirt and stuff when he
Yeah.
was tied up to that pole in the anime/manga. Another great portrayal, Helmeppo. I
Mhm.
think he's I
Oh,
hope
yeah.
nobody said that yet. He's just such a douche, and he was a douche and we've always known him as a douche, and he was good. So
His facial acting and the way he like was just everything to do with his mouth was so good. Like he was so
He
hateable.
genuinely felt like a caricature, like just
Yes.
with how
Yeah.
his like mouth was just like so big at some points, and like the faces he was making, and felt very manga-esque.
And I want to bring this up while B Tom's just reminded me. You said the scout, like Luffy scouting out potential crewmates. We missed a line earlier
Yes,
that's
I
important
was
to
gonna bring
say.
that up.
Luffy did clarify when he's talking to the bird that commits mutiny on him that he wants 10 crew members. That's incredibly important. Just
Mhm.
But I
something
think he
that gets
implies it
said
again
early.
that is not including himself. It sounds like I need 10 people on my crew.
plus a bird.
Yeah, plus the bird that just declines him. The first
Yeah.
person or thing to decline Luffy's invitation to the crew.
Right.
if I was that bird, I would have been like, fuck yeah, sign me up, baby.
But yeah, back to the bar scene. Again, a great Zoro moment. His fighting's always top notch. Nami has a cool scene where she just she knocks out whatever Marine she was swindling for the outfit, and that's pretty much it, right?
Yeah, that's all we got there. And then so Zoro gets the better of Helmeppo here, and we find out that Helmeppo is the son of Axehand Morgan, whose face has been planted all around this Marine base. We've seen him in the background already, and he is the leader of this Marine branch, and Zoro basically forces Helmeppo to take him to Axehand Morgan so he can get the money for his bounty that he brought in. But rather than paying Zoro when he does meet Axehand Morgan, Axehand Morgan asks Zoro to join the Marines, but basically if he refuses, he's going to be strapped to a stake for 7 days without any water or food. This is kind of where the manga influence comes into play here, but Zoro is basically forced into doing it. He doesn't have an option. He obviously does not want to join the Marines, which if he did join the Marines, that would be crazy. I couldn't even imagine a timeline of that happening. Him going against Luffy later on, that would be wild. But anyway, Zoro decides to go through with the punishment rather than join the Marines.
I just love the clout he has as the pirate hunter.
He's not afraid to like speak his mind, which I do enjoy here. Like he's slyly like taking shots at Axehand Morgan, and Axehand Morgan's just not taking it. And speaking of, again, just more credit where credit's due. Axehand Morgan looked incredible. Another thing I was a little worried about, because he specifically is probably the first character that we're introduced into the manga that is actually like really a manga character. Like obviously
deformed.
Yeah, like his jaw is completely made of steel, which, you know, thinking into it, I'm before seeing the show, I'm like, how are they going to do things like this? Very simple, looked realistic, wasn't too much of like a huge jaw, just looked like it actually was built into him. So just giving credit where credit
they nailed it. His line delivery was incredible.
The actor was honestly one of my favorite performances. We'll get into that. That wasn't a spoiler for mine, but we're going to have favorite performances at the end here. But I will give credit where credit is due. So as Zoro is suffering his punishment, Luffy just so happens to sneak into where he is being kept via aqueducts. This interaction for me was fantastic, especially on the rewatch, because the whole time, just as a manga reader, I'm just thinking these two have no idea what they're about to get into with each other. And it's just so heartwarming here. Like Luffy just immediately is like, yo, I saw what you did at the bar. You're a good guy. Join my fucking crew. Zoro's like, I don't know who you are. No, thank you. Anyway,
the best judgment of character of all time.
Yeah.
He's
Luffy's
just
down,
the best
I'm
judge
down.
of character. Yeah.
this scene brings such a smile to my face, because it's just it. And we have the Netflix just like screen like pause on our TV right now, and it just showed it. But I just love this scene so much. It's such a minuscule scene, but it just really, as someone again who has read and watched this for years, just takes me back. It really does.
But Zoro also proclaims his dream.
We also do get Zoro's dream. He announces that he wants to be the world's greatest swordsman, which I was kind of pissed. Luffy, again, another thing to kind of go into what you were saying earlier with Gold Roger not announcing the One Piece. I was really hoping that Luffy would have said here, oh, the world's greatest swordsman. That would be a great compliment to the world, the king of the pirates, you know, like just talking about their dynamic, duo-ness. But either way, still just brings a tear to my eye.
Any other B-Toms, Ryaki?
Any other comments for that one?
All good.
Yeah. All good right now.
All right, we see Nami after she's disguised herself with the perfectly short enough guy's clothes. She gets actually caught here, but she does beat some ass. And Luffy, coincidentally, at the same time as he went back into the aqueducts after rescuing Zoro, or freeing him rather, falls down, overhears the conversation of Nami. Nami tries arresting him like a little punk, and Luffy's like, you're not going to have that on me. I heard the whole thing. You're fake. Let's team up here.
And
well, she is forced to team up with him because Luffy just arrogantly is like, all right, I'm just gonna go take the map, just like is just gonna walk right out and just fight anyone in his way. Nami's not about that. She doesn't want her plans getting ruined either. So again, we're just getting some of the classic back and forth between two OG characters, and it's just great to see.
they have great comedy beats together, these two. Like the first intro when they're both like at the map barracks, and they're both like looking up and down like 3 times at each other, and the way she just instantly knows this guy is just, as the succession podcast would say, not a serious person at all. So it's just so great they're back and forth because she is the serious glue that holds them together. And then Luffy's just doing what he's doing. He's like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna walk around the Marine base, and she just follows him. It's good. And she does a cool little flip up too when she's fighting. I love that.
More staff, please, for me.
Mhm.
And in the meantime, Zoro gets his blade back from Helmeppo. Like we said, we get some Helmeppo ass here, which they were going to give us some fan service. I was hoping it was going to be some female fan service, but we'll take Helmeppo at the same
Whoa.
time.
Just kidding.
Horny bonk.
Nosebleed.
There you go. There you go. It was even better. But we do see Nami put on her deception skills on display here as well. As her and Luffy are about to approach Axe-Hand Morgan's chambers, he steps out, and Nami does a fantastic job here of weaseling her way into convincing that Axe-Hand Morgan that she's a new recruit. And my favorite line so far of the show is right here is when she's doing all this, and Luffy looks at her and is like, "She's the best, isn't she?" It's just, again, that really for me felt like an OG Luffy moment. Just him being so clueless in his surroundings, just not being aware of what's going on, and Nami just looking at him like, "Can you shut the fuck up, please?" And then of course he has to save himself by saying, "She's the best at being the worst." But just great back and forth. And so Axe-Hand Morgan buys it, goes off to do some Axe-Hand Morgan stuff, and they discover the safe. Nami gets to work on the safe, but they're running out of time as Axe-Hand Morgan discovers that Nami was not who she says she was. He comes quickly back to the office that they've locked the door on, and he's trying to break in. Luffy is again annoying the shit out of Nami. She's not able to quite break the safe out. So what are we going to do? We're going to choose brawn over brains here. Luffy just grabs that fucking safe and is using his elasticity to just create some power, and they yank the fucking safe right out of the ground that it's bolted to. So here actually I want to just point out that this is a nice little moment because it does at least emphasize a little bit to us that Luffy, not only does he have powers, he is naturally stronger than the average person. Like, this thing was bolted into the ground. Like, Nami would not have been capable of doing this. So just a small moment that lets us know, okay, this guy is above average strong as well, not just made of rubber.
And another good small moment that happens for Nami during these scenes that you've been walking through is when Luffy does say, like, you should join my crew, like I'm a pirate. She throws him against the wall and says, like, I hate pirates. That's just an important part of her personality, and it's going to go a long way for character development reasons. So just keep that in the back of your mind. As you can tell, she just doesn't like any pirates.
Or authority, for that matter.
Yeah, absolutely. She does not have any respect for authority. But so they break out of this, they grab the safe and they fling it accidentally outside of the building. So Luffy and Nami now fall to the ground level, and they are now surrounded by a bunch of Marines. Now we enter another great fight scene here, but just really briefly, we do see Zoro walking away with his swords, takes a look at the fighting, takes a look at leaving, and I guess Luffy struck a note with him just enough for him to decide to go back and join the fray and them fighting. And I could talk probably a long time about this fight scene, but I'll let you guys kind of pick and choose what your favorite moments were here. What did you think of Zoro, Nami, and Luffy all together here?
Zoro's never going to run away from a scrap. He saw a scrap. He was like, yeah, that's where I want to be. But it was great. It was fantastic. Kind of just how they were taking care of the fodder, and then Axe-Hand comes up and Zoro and Luffy just kind of like come together and do the damn thing. But I mean, how does it get better than Zoro like donning the bandana?
Oh, gas me up!
Putting the third sword, getting it out, slowly popping it in his mouth. Luffy in the background, peanut gallery, just like, oh, that's where it goes. And what did they just agree? You take low, I got high, and boy, does Zoro go low and Luffy's got high. They work this guy, and the fight scenes, they had to be great, and they have been great so far. So no complaints.
Mm-hmm.
I just love when Zoro does get the better of him and he uses his mouth sword to kind of like put it at Axe-Hand Morgan's neck, and then Luffy finishes him off with the whip. Like, I'm chills, man. Like, I've just been getting chills nonstop. Like, they go away, they come back. It's just, I love talking this shit. It's so great.
You got it.
So many great moments. But one thing to just put out there, just into the ether, that Axiom Morgan says that he was the one that single-handedly captured Captain Kuro, master of 1,000 plans, whatever. That's
Mhm.
going to become important when we open the safe later.
Name drop.
Name drop, yeah, just like a future seed plant there. But yes, one of the best things about it too that actually I would say feels more consistent with the manga and anime is when Axiom Morgan comes out, Luffy and Zoro start fighting him, and Nami sticks to all the fodder. That
yeah,
makes a
yeah.
lot more sense, and she crushes some of the fodder, and that
She's
was
the
really
god
cool to
of
see.
even in like current chapters.
Yeah.
She's the god of just crushing fodder.
She's resourceful.
Yeah,
you
she
know,
really is. She just can't handle the-
resourceful.
She can handle some big bads, but like someone like Axiom Morgan, you gotta leave it to Luffy and Zoro.
My biggest takeaway is you guys touch on the big points of the quality of the fight scene, the team chemistry, man. It's
Synergy,
just
baby.
A1. It's A1, and you know that it's not going away. They can't get away from it. I know they're saying I'm not joining the crew. Like we're not on the crew. we're not shipmates or whatever. It's like, yeah, psych, bro. You wish. You're locked in now.
When
It's
Luffy
happening.
says we're a crew and they both say no, he like turns and looks at both of them like, what the hell are you
It's like,
talking
what are you guys talking about? We just fucking fuck shit up.
That is definitely also one of my favorite parts. Is whenever he says we're a crew and they're just like not a crew. That is.
Oh,
that
yeah,
is
that's a
actually-
great bit
That
that
is
they've been
actually
doing.
comedy right there.
And then we work really well together. He says that all the time too. But Dave, this is actually off the back of your comment with how Luffy's like really strong when you lift the safe.
Oh yeah.
A little moment that's awesome here is when they're thinking about leaving after they take care of Axiom Morgan. They have to move the safe and they don't know what to do. So Zoro just, while they're talking, just picks it up with like one hand and just like walks out. He is known as strong as fuck.
Yeah,
man.
he's
So
strong
He
as
is like physically the strongest of the like even future crew members. Like
Yeah.
he is physically the strongest.
I would have loved. Never mind. I was gonna say it would be cool if he cut it open, but
Oh yeah, just like slice it. Yeah.
not yet.
Not yeah. He can't cut steel quite yet.
But
Yeah. So anyway, Axan Morgan will cut that. But with Axan defeated, the crew quickly escape to their boat where Helmeppo is greeting them again. He fires off like a warning shot. Maybe it was like an actual shot, but he completely whiffs Zoro, who doesn't even blink because he's such a beast. And Kobe gets a lick in, baby. Our first Kobe punch, baby. Knocks out Helmeppo and basically lets Luffy, Zoro, and Nami go. And he decides to stay back, so he has his opportunity with the Marines. Now,
can't not talk about his haircut though.
oh yeah, Helmeppo now has the memorable
Character
haircut that he
defining.
has. Yeah, it's like the bowl cut looking, like the Rock Lee almost looking
Yeah.
haircut. So
I was down for the haircut change, but I'm so happy they fixed it at the last moment and they made it a thing.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It
I
had to
wonder if
be.
it'll stick. Like,
Oh, what do you mean?
Well, what's great
why
too
would
is
he
like
keep that?
Does
Why
he in
would
the
he keep it?
manga?
That's his haircut, like all the time,
That's they're keeping it.
right?
they have to
Isn't
keep
that
it.
his
Yeah.
haircut from like?
I mean,
first
obviously, when you
instance?
see him in the live action, like it's like long in some place, like it's not perfectly haircut.
it's not a
but
bowl,
He'll
like a bowl
fix it
cut.
up.
he'll fix it up,
Yeah.
and yeah, that'll
If
be.
he's
his
playing
haircut.
Helmeppo, they're keeping it.
I would love it. I'm not saying I wouldn't like it. I'm just wow. Yeah, you guys are opening some floodgates for me in my mind.
Helmeppo was great.
yeah.
And I just want to like the show has been ringing home the establishment of it's not Marines are good, pirates are bad. It's there are good and bad pirates, just like there are good and bad Marines. And his lasting words to Kobe are, "You're going to be a good Marine.
Mhm.
Axan Morgan was a bad Marine. You're going to be a good one, and that's good.
Right.
I'm going to be a good pirate, and we're both going to be good." Doing our different things.
They call each other friends, and they set sail, baby. Love
What
it.
a fire pile. Oh, I guess the
Yeah,
last scene.
we got two scenes here. The first is we find out who we eventually find out to be Garp. We've already established that, but this is Garp here. He gets a phone call on the Denden Mushi, inquiring about the pirates that broke into the Marine base. So we get a little closer glimpse here of Garp. Again, this is the guy who captured Gold Roger. And then the second scene we get is who we find out eventually to be Kabaji, letting Buggy know that the map has been taken from the Marine base. And we get Buggy's brief introduction here, which was like word for word, panel for panel, like the introduction to Buggy. It was awesome. Like the
Stop. We're done. We're done.
just him sitting on the seat is exactly how he was sitting in the manga. Like it was just really awesome to see.
And the Wanted poster too, I think, comes up here.
16 million, I believe it was.
15 million.
15 million. God damn it.
Well,
I'll
it's
get it.
one more than whatever.
It's one less.
One less than Kuro. Okay.
15 million.
Yeah, Kuro was 16.
I small detail. I loved how Garp was feeding the
Oh, yeah.
transponder snail.
Mhm.
I don't know why. It's just like they are alive, and in all anime, there's always some law defying, physics defying mumbo
Like, dang,
jumbo,
yeah.
and that in One Piece, like you can communicate via snail, and it's alive, and Garp was feeding it. I
And
just
if
thought
you're
it was cool.
completely new to One Piece, just to give you a tiny bit more, the snails take on the physical characteristics of whoever is calling from the other side. So Axan Morgan's snail had the little metal jaw. So you'll just be on the lookout for that in the future because they're funny little moments that really crack you up sometimes.
And to be honest, I don't even know if we've ever seen in the manga like someone feeding their snail either.
That's
so
what, that's why it stuck out to me,
yeah, there's
because
like a little bit of more world building for us manga readers. Like that's just something that
Never
we
would have
know.
thought of that.
Yeah, exactly. Like I
Exactly,
kind
yeah.
of thought they were like inanimate snails almost, like they were living, but they didn't really need to survive like off
They
things, but-
only exist to be telephones.
yeah, exactly.
You
But
mean,
now,
yeah. They
but
don't
now
need
we know
food.
they're creatures. So this is great. But now we dive into episode 2, and God, we're going long, but fuck it, man.
No,
This has
we're
just
not. I think we're making
we're
great
good time.
time.
Okay,
An
I
hour
just-
per episode. We're good.
I love this content, guys. I love it. So we are here in episode 2. Our trio is sailing at the sea. Nami is continuously still being annoyed by Luffy. He's just distracting her from opening the safe. But even with the distractions, Nami is finally able to crack into the safe, and we see a few things here. First is in the top left-hand corner, we get a bounty for a Kuro, which again we've already kind of talked about with Axan Morgan claiming he's captured him or arrested him once, whatever it is. It's a bounty of 16 million, which is the highest we've seen so far. The map of the Grand Line, or at least I'm assuming it's probably the world. Maybe it is just specifically the Grand Line. I'm actually not 100% sure. But then in the top right-hand corner of the box or chest, we also see a Baroque's Work card that similar to the one that Zoro was going to receive from Mr. 7 in episode 1.
Yep.
And here we get a great world building moment. Luffy is wondering actually where the Grand Line is. He talks about wanting to go there and conquering it and all this stuff, but he actually has no idea where it is. Nami gives a sigh because she is our genius navigator, provides us a brief introduction to the world of One Piece, or sorry, just the world, period. So we get North Blue, South Blue, East Blue, West Blue. North to South is split by the Red Line. East to West is split by the Grand Line. And it's very difficult to get to the Grand Line.
And if you wanted another glimpse into the level of detail that these guys are doing for this show, that outfit that Nami's wearing right now is from a random one-page cover art shot that Oda drew in the first half of making them up, like the first half of his time making the
It
manga.
might have even
They-
been her like her OG character design. It might
No,
have
no,
been.
no. The one she's wearing
Oh,
here
is it
is not
Camel?
that
Okay.
one. Maybe this is the time she switches into
One
that.
of them is
Yeah, either way,
Yeah.
they every outfit that they ever wear so far is in some way taken from a random arc or like a random cover story that Oda drew at some point. So they care. Just know like this is like magical for us who have been fans for almost 2 decades of this series. And it's just amazing to see these little things because they add up and they just show you how much care is being given to One Piece.
And if you have a problem with where they got the outfits, they got them from the fucking ship that they just stole. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't remember who called it out when we were watching the show, but that's what they got them from the ship. And so, just as they're discussing all of this information, a new ship arrives and is emitting a strange cloud of smoke that slowly knocks them out one by one. Just as Luffy's about to go down to the smoke, swallows the map and sees out the window a pirate ship with a Jolly Roger. And here we enter Buggy the Clown. Basically, he is a psychotic clown that values entertainment over everything and is very sensitive when it comes to his nose. It's honestly a very twisted version of the Buggy that we're used to, and I'm all in for it. He basically has this entire village of people trapped on his ship, forcing them to partake in his shows or at least be audience members to his shows. And we also find out quickly as well that he also aspires to be the king of the pirates and finding the One Piece. And Luffy, that causes some beef. But yeah, this is our trio here. We get our introduction to Buggy. What are your guys' thoughts on Buggy the Clown?
I mentioned Nami's my favorite straw hat. Buggy's probably my favorite portrayal of a pirate outside of the Straw Hat crew. I mean, okay, yeah, Shanks is great and all, but Buggy was awesome. I mean, wow, he was sinister enough to make you, kind of consider him a threat. He was also funny enough to understand like that he is Buggy the Clown, and the whole thing with the circus, the tent. I thought that was a great imagery into like his personality and kind of how he structures his crew and how he tortures people. I mean, it was great. And they're not on the ship, right? They're in the town.
Yeah, that is the town. At first, I thought the tent was part of the ship, but it turns out the tent is set up in the town.
Are you talking about Binky?
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, Boogie. I'm talking about Boogie. I'm talking
Boogie,
about Boogie. Yeah.
Which I love that they like added that little thing.
Luffy is constantly fucking up names of people that he doesn't like, I guess,
Care
entirely
about.
care about. Yeah, because he finds Buggy interesting, but not to the point of enough where he can remember his name. But yeah, this Buggy portrayal was just absolutely like amazing. I thought it was very menacing. Again, like seeing all the villagers around him just like trapped. That's something we never saw in the manga. Like we knew Buggy was ruthless and destroying villages and things like that, but this took it to another level, and it was just really cool to see.
And naturally, this is 1,000+ chapter story that's written. A lot needs to be cut, and I think they decided to cut a bunch of the right things for the Buggy arc. Like that mayor that we see throughout this episode with the white hair, he plays a bigger part in the books, in the manga. And then they do at least go as far to acknowledge the lion.
His name is in the manga, the white
What's his
lion-esque looking character. His name is Moji.
Moji. And then
M-O-H,
Buggy,
yeah.
and what his thing in the manga is, he has this huge lion that he rides around on. Buggy has the little line where he goes, "Where's the dancing lion?" That's good enough because we didn't need to see it.
But it's
just
cool
know,
that they're like
yeah.
calling themselves
Yeah.
out. They're like, it's basically like the show of One Piece being like, oh, our fans are gonna ask, where's the lion? It's just
Yeah.
him being like,
Yeah.
here, but
Like
And
the
they do show
transponder
the little dog. That's a huge part in the manga anime too. Like for a second at the end of this episode, so they hit all the right spots, and then they focused on what they had to.
Those
get
little
this done
Easter
in 8
eggs
episodes.
are
exactly the
are
Easter
very
eggs.
rewarding,
Yes,
as somebody like somebody like us.
Mhm.
alrighty. And so Nami really quickly here, as they're kind of doing their back and forth about who's going to be king of the pirates, Luffy and Buggy. Nami attempts to escape, but rushes out of the tent to quickly see what Aoki was referring to as a wasteland of a town that was completely destroyed by Buggy. One thing I wish we got to see was the Buggy ball in action. That's what basically you don't know this in the live action, but basically Buggy has a specific cannonball that's called the Buggy ball. It has a picture of his Jolly Roger on the ball, and it causes ridiculous devastation, as you can see here by the representation of the town.
It's implied.
Yeah, it's totally implied, but I just wish. I think there probably was a picture of the Buggy, or is it the Muggy? No, it is the Buggy ball. But either way, regardless, Luffy, the crew is separated, so Nami comes rushing back in after seeing the town is destroyed. Zoro and Nami get pulled aside, where Luffy is set to stay here with Buggy to be tortured to find out where the map is.
Mm-hmm.
So Luffy, I'll actually go to Nami and Zoro really quickly. So Nami and Zoro are in their own cages here. The unicycle riding clown, I guess, Kabaji, who we saw from episode 1, who was at the bar with Zoro, shows up, and now we get the backstory of why he had that reaction to seeing Zoro in the bar. So turns out Zoro killed Kabaji's brother at some point, beheaded him, and just traded in his head for a few berry, which obviously Kabaji did not take too kindly to. He's kind of taking advantage of Zoro here while he's tied up. Nami, in the meantime, is working on picking the lock that is holding her hostage.
I like for this part that they do have the moment alone before he gets there where they're like having their back and forths, because they need to have these growing pains of starting to somewhat get to know each other for them to be a crew in the future. And you see some of that, like, like they're making fun of each other, they're saying things, so they're learning a little bit about each other. She even goes to say, like, I had 4 lock picks on me. Like, he's starting to understand the type of like thief she is, and like Zoro's just a badass that just doesn't fear death, and she gets to see all that stuff with the knife throwing. So I think this is like a subtle growing moment for them, just as they get to know each other.
And I know we're kind of like overarching all of this, like we're just kind of talking about the scene itself, but there is kind of a moment here where Zoro mentions that he is kind of turning on, like he's becoming more enthralled with the idea of joining Luffy. Like he's kind of talking about how Luffy has turned on him a little bit, and he is seeing how good of a guy Luffy is and kind of respects that out of
The
him.
first sign of
Is-
faith, baby.
Mhm.
Is this where he says, I don't have to believe in him, he believes in himself?
Yep.
Yeah.
I just love that line.
Yeah, and it's just it hits even harder. I'm sorry if we keep rubbing in that we're manga readers, but I just feel like it just hits so hard as a manga reader. And so now we get back to Luffy, who is trying to be tortured by Buggy. He's being stretched out, which obviously does not do anything to our made of rubber MC here. So Luffy's just having a blast here, and then Buggy decides to switch it up on him. We get a display quickly of Buggy's power, which is the Chop Chop fruit, which allows him to essentially break his body into pieces that he can basically never be cut. So that's just something important we see here. He gets the better of Luffy. He uses his hands that is no longer attached to his body to, knock Luffy out. And
the Straw Hat reveal too.
Yep. And we get him trapped in a cage of seawater, which we also find out here is the devil fruit's weakness. So if a person who has consumed a devil fruit is even just touching seawater, it causes them to lose their ability as well as become really weak. So Luffy is not able to use his rubber or rely on his strength here to break himself out. So that's just some important stuff for people to just remember.
But like, are we gonna the Shanks conversation already happens where he acknowledges?
We can talk about that right here. So while Luffy is getting tortured, essentially, Buggy does mention to Luffy that he recognizes the hat that Luffy is wearing and says that it is the original owner of it was a good friend of his, Shanks, who he and Shanks used to be aboard on the same ship when they were younger. And that's kind of all we know about Buggy and Shanks' history.
And that he hates him now.
And that, yes, Shanks at some point betrayed Buggy, and now Buggy holds this grudge towards Shanks. So obviously seeing the Straw Hat probably pisses him off to no ends.
Yeah.
Now I have to ask, and I'm embarrassed as the resident anime expert that I don't know the answer of
Yeah,
how
I introed you as the anime
of my
subject
head.
matter.
Like, did he mention his relationship to Shanks in the anime or manga? I don't.
Yeah.
So like in the manga, like I think he does. It's kind of the same thing. It's just like very loosely,
Okay.
like I recognize your hat. It belonged to Shanks, and Luffy's like Shanks. And
So he did. All right. Yeah. My memory's a little foggy on that detail, but cool.
Does he even say here it used to belong to a guy I know named Shanks, or does he just say an old crewmate of mine?
he might have even in the manga, he might have even just said old crewmate of mine. But I'm sure for Luffy, that
I'm
kind of
asking
connected.
now
He
to get our facts
acknowledges
straight.
It's Shanks. He says
He named drop. Okay, Shanks.
Yeah, because he
Gotcha.
says, "You know Shanks." Like that's something Luffy says back to him.
Gotcha.
Well, I'm going to take this opportunity to point out one of my other gripes. So I've been glowing pretty much this whole time. Besides, like the scar thing I mentioned earlier. My other thing, and this is probably my biggest complaint, is how they portray seawater impacting a devil fruit user. And I actually really noticed it during the scene when Luffy's a kid and he gets saved by Shanks. They're not supposed to be able to move when they're in the ocean or seawater, like literally like immobilized, like you just sink like an anchor. But Luffy was like treading water and stuff. And even in this scene when he's like in the box, like as soon as it hits the water is high enough, he should basically just be immobile and like he can't move his legs. So I don't love that piece of it because it should be more of a handicap, because taking a devil fruit is such a blessing and it's such a positive for you, especially in a world with fighting, that the drawback needs to be a little bit more obvious. Because I think, okay, you lose your power, but like for most people, if you could tread, I don't think it got across that you will drown if you're in.
Yeah, I
ocean.
guess you're absolutely right. I don't think it was like clear enough that it's like if we just threw this person out into the water, like they would just drown. Like they wouldn't actually be able to not like swim,
That's why in the opening scene of Luffy in modern day, he gets into the barrel because he's like, oh shit, if I fall into this water, I'm just dead. It's not that he's just weak and sitting there waiting to be rescued. It's that he will just sink and not move and drown. So I hope that is still the rules, because it might not be, because young Luffy was like treading water a little bit for a second. So I don't know what they're going to do with that. But
Well, didn't the chick say at the bar, like in the live action, you know, this means you can't swim or whatever?
yeah, but I'm saying what they showed us hasn't really matched up that one
like
to
it
one
shouldn't
with what
just
should
be like you lose the ability to swim. It should be you are literally a vegetable. Like you
Yes.
just can't move at all. Like you can't tread water.
Yeah,
Is what I'm
but
saying. But we'll see it. Like it'll probably be a little bit before we see an opportunity like this happen again. I think based off what I know in the books, we'll see how they eventually tackle it later on. But
Yeah.
I can see why it'd be like a tiny complaint.
because Buggy does specifically say that's seawater, you're going to lose your powers. You
Yeah.
can't do anything in there.
And then there's two things that if it wasn't already obvious for Luffy's character, there's two things that you really don't want to talk shit on. It's or like just hurt at all is the hat and talk shit on Shanks, and both those things Buggy did. And so using that anger, Luffy kind of unhinges himself from the torture. Or sorry, this was earlier, but regardless, Nami, Zoro, they managed to break free of Kabaji. Pretty badass too, because Zoro just one arm chokes him out and just fucking just gives him a little muscle. And then Nami is the one to throw the staff and shatter the cage that Luffy is in. And now our MCs are all free, and they are going to fight the mini boss that is Buggy the Clown.
Is this just open dialogue about the whole final fight, basically?
Yeah, we can go. It's just the Buggy versus Straw Hats right now.
Go ahead.
Buggy's powers look phenomenal. And I feel like he didn't use that. Like, was he able to create like a whirlwind with them?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
like-
yeah. Sorry.
The move is called Chop Chop Parade, actually. Like when it's just flying in circles like that, the cannon was the move. But one thing I probably would have said I would have liked to see a little bit more from his fruit is more emphasizing the knives, because when you're seeing like just like slabs of meat being thrown at Luffy and stuff, it doesn't really like feel like it's too dangerous. Like in the manga, like Buggy's shoes have knives in them, like each finger could pretty much be a blade, like I feel like when he was using that move, he could have emphasized a little bit more of the danger, because Luffy gets hit by like a couple like punches, doesn't really see any knives, and like he gets hit with like a slab of like elbow meat, maybe. I don't really know what it was, but I really wish they could have emphasized a little bit more of the knives there.
I liked how when Zoro like slashed at him, he chopped
Yeah.
in the direction of the slices. I feel like they in the anime they've always shown like the typical ones, like he'll split his body in half, or like his arm will come off if Zoro or somebody slashes him there. But to see like the X actually get separated, I thought that was so good.
I
Yeah.
agree. And that's
Yeah.
the moment he goes, "Surprise, shithead."
Yeah, that was.
want more-
I actually laughed out loud.
I want some cursing, because that was I think the first like swear word we
Yeah,
got, or at
yeah.
least like noticeable one, and that like caught me off guard, so it made it like extra funny.
So
So
many laugh out loud moments, man.
I was really happy that he named an attack.
Mhm.
It validated
Yes.
our boy Luffy very much so. But I'm really curious to see how it plays out, like in the live action. I can't imagine a serious fight and they're just being like,
like,
naming
calling out
attacks.
names,
I think that they'll probably do it for the big moments. I'm just curious to see what
Well,
it's like,
see what you're
and
They
I don't.
addressed it earlier with dialogue. He said all the best fighters name their finishing moves.
Right,
And in
right. That's
Zoro
why I said-
Faction, he said, just no, they don't. And then they both moved on with their
This was
lives.
like a finishing move from Buggy, whereas like maybe the other techniques he were using weren't like finishing moves, but the Chop Chop Cannon was a finishing
Right,
move.
that's why I said it validated Luffy that like all
Yeah.
the fighters,
and
best
then
fighters
he ends
say
up
it,
doing Bazooka to actually like hit him out after they come up with the
Which-
plan.
I'm gonna be honest, this was probably my one negative is Bazooka was a little underwhelming, because I feel like in the manga, like it feels like a cannon fire. Like it's really emphasizing like the air push that's coming off of like the connection of Luffy hitting his opponent. So it felt like a little bit like of a slap that he just like slapped Buggy in the face and shot him
Yeah,
out. So
liked
I
it.
thought it was
thought
pretty
the
good,
impact was
honestly.
this is probably just a subjective thing, obviously, but this was just my one little complaint of
Okay.
anything.
the whip is of the three the one that looked the worst to me.
The kick, right? The kick.
I would say
Yeah, the
second.
kick against Morgan,
If
but
you didn't say that, I would have thought we all would have universally thought that the bazooka
No, I
was
think-
good.
No,
I thought the bazooka was pretty solid.
agreed.
I also
Yeah,
thought
Bazooka looked good.
I thought the whip was honestly solid. I didn't.
I thought the whip was solid too. I think pistol, whip, and then bazooka.
So
for
there
me
you
right
go.
now.
That's a good sign that none of us collectively think one of them is bad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
at this point we're splitting hairs. They all look
Oh yeah,
good.
yeah, absolutely splitting hairs.
Sure.
But that way that they actually beat Buggy, because Buggy was winning that fight against
Mhm.
all three of them. The way they beat him was great. I'm pretty sure it's similar.
Yeah, I think it's pretty much the same.
Because
They
like,
lock
he
up.
does end up with just the hands, the legs, and his head at the end of the fight, and it actually somehow still looked not like ridiculously out of
Cartoony. It didn't look like
it's
cartoon.
still- it was as good as it was gonna look, basically, and I was pretty happy with that.
But the last thing that we get out of our main monster trio, we'll call it, even though it's not the actual monster trio, Luffy does free the village from Buggy's control, and we see his innocent personality kind of influence Nami a little bit here. So we already kind of got the confirmation verbally from Zoro that he was buying into Luffy a little bit. Here we see Nami double take on Luffy's
Yep.
genuine goodness in his soul. And
It was when he said, "I'm a different kind of pirate," because
yeah,
she said
she's,
like she hates
he's
all
unlocking
pirates.
the chains because
Yeah.
the mayor, if it wasn't obvious either to the audience, that the guy with the poofy George Washington looking cut was the mayor of the village, and
Mhm.
he was like, "What, are you gonna re-imprison us? Like, now that you beat Buggy, now are we your treasure?" And Luffy looks at him, he's like, "I'm a different pirate. I don't do that stuff." And that's where kind of Nami looks at him. So really loving.
Along
Go ahead.
relevant to that, what instigated the fight was Nami running out, trying to escape on her own, seeing the devastation he had caused to the town, and then she came back and stood up to Buggy, which is very uncharacteristic of Nami to go picking a fight with someone stronger than her, and said, "You shouldn't be able to get away with this. You, a pirate, are treating this town like absolute garbage."
And which I'm not going to give away too much, but she is all too familiar with like that kind of oppression. So that's definitely.
Well, I'm
moment
bringing
for
it
her.
up because
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
a character point, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Nami is the best.
Yeah,
Nami's
was-
fantastic. Yeah. So is
Nami
Zoro and Luffy for that matter.
The trio has been fucking great.
And
Yeah.
this is the moment that Luffy coins her as "You're the navigator." And it's so
She is
good,
the
man.
fucking navigator, and she's the goddamn best one too out in the fucking seas.
Yeah.
The last scene, however, we're gassing up Nami, and then, however, we do get one last scene of our trio. They're kind of celebrating the W that they just got, and Nami kind of slyly sneaks off to the side, and we see. I actually like this touch too because we don't really get too many of these shots, if any at all, in the manga. But we get like a little Bluetooth transponder snail, which I thought was pretty sick, honestly. And she pulls that bad boy out, dials up a number, and is like, "Yeah, I've got." You can tell him. I think she says you can just tell him. We have the map.
No, I turned it off before that.
Yeah,
I didn't watch that scene.
yeah. We haven't seen Nami be bad yet. Yeah. But just again, just little bits of extra world building for us manga readers is seeing like the Bluetooth transponder. So I thought that was a nice little touch.
I think we have seen something like that.
We probably
before.
have, but like at
Yeah.
least seeing it like so vividly here and visually, it was really cool. I think there
It's
are
like a little hermit
sneaky
crab
ones.
she just puts in her ear.
Yeah. Do you think
so
it's like
funny.
moving in her ear too?
It's she probably has to feed it.
100%.
oh god, I don't know if it's worth it.
She has to feed it.
What a barbaric way of communication. All righty. Now we're gonna go. So that was kind of all of our MC buckets right there. We're gonna touch up on the final bit here of the Marines. So Kobe is gearing up for his first day, and he is lined up outside with Helmeppo, and we get our first official introduction into the hero known as Garp, the man who captured Gold Roger. So
With his hat.
yeah, love the dog hat that he has on. Iconic.
I was not even gonna. I wasn't.
I didn't love the hat. I'll be honest. I think it
That's
was
what
funny.
that's exactly how
I
it
liked it.
looks.
Yeah, I thought it was
Whatever.
pretty dead on. But Kobe's the only one that doesn't really know who he is. Helmeppo makes him come off as like, this is a big deal that Garp is here. And so Axan Morgan is regaling Garp over an exaggerated story about what happened at the base to make it seem like he's a noble hero, but does give a little bit of credit to and Garp does see through kind of the bullshit that he's presenting, but he does kind of Axan Morgan kind of gives a little bit of credit here to Kobe with saving his son, something like that. And Garp kind of is a little bit interested now in Kobe. Next scene we get of them is Garp bringing Kobe into his main office to have kind of Kobe tell him about the whole situation, get his perspective on it. Kobe's walking him through what happened, but Garp does let it leak that he knew that Kobe was with Luffy when they first arrived at the village. Kobe does drop the name Luffy. Garp's ears pick up a little bit, just a hint, wink, wink, a little bit here. And Garp turns his head and is basically pressuring Kobe into telling him the whole truth of the events that happened, and begins questioning Kobe as a Marine, just saying, "You don't look like you're cut out for this, yada, yada, yada." Kobe holds his ground, eventually tells him the whole truth that happened on the events, and redoubles down on his validation of wanting to become a Marine. And then Garp gives him a little bit of credit, saying telling the truth or at least truth is a core value of the Marines. So again, this is something that we didn't get too much into in the manga, at least this relationship this early on, at least between Garp and Kobe. But it is awesome to see the blossoming relationship that these two are going to have going forward. We don't necessarily know entirely where it's headed, but we can see at least here that Garp respects Kobe, and Kobe does kind of look up to Garp a little bit with how his introduction was with, oh, he's the hero of the Marines, kind of.
Good, Marine.
And a good Marine. And Axehand Morgan got his ass strung up in the yard.
Yes, sir. Yep. So Axehand Morgan's strung up in the yard, and Garp's putting him on display here, giving a huge speech about honor, justice, and that the leadership of Marines has been a little bit corrupt, especially since the execution of Gold Roger. Garp is personally now in charge of leading a mission with the new cadets to hunt down the pirates that caused all this devastation and show them there are consequences to pirates' actions, and those consequences are the Marines. I thought that line was hard as shit. I think Garp has been a phenomenal addition to the show so far. I cannot wait to see more of him and Kobe going forward, because again, in the manga, it kind of periodically pops up, these two. And so I just like seeing early on their relationship develop here.
Big props to Helmeppo, man.
Oh yeah. And Helmeppo comes
Sticking
off
with
with a
the
black
crew.
guy. Yeah.
Growth.
Yeah.
Sticking with the Navy, sorry, excuse me, despite them persecuting his freaking father.
Yeah.
It's the Navy now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the Marines. You said Navy.
Okay, my bad.
There is a difference. I mean, it's really not a big difference. We'll get into
I
it
meant
as
Marines,
the Navy
so-
gets introduced. They're all the same basically, but it is the Marines here specifically.
I think like we're pretty much, that's the end of the actual content of the episode. So I think what's left is, let's go around and everybody give their top. I want to say top 3 just character performances
Okay.
compared to the manga or anime, like the source material. We'll take a mini break and kick everybody out that doesn't want any form of conversation surrounding manga talks, and then hit a couple of high level topics, not super detailed, and then we could sign out. So if we're okay with moving forward, I'll go first, just because I give you time to write 3 down if you don't already have it down. And I'm based on this conversation, I feel like a lot of us are going to have some repeats. Totally
That's why
fine.
maybe some similar.
I ordered mine, so my top 3 are actually Nami, Helmeppo,
Helmeppo.
Helmeppo, and then Buggy in that exact order.
Meaning top down or
Top down.
bottom
Nami
up?
is perfection. Helmeppo was, for screen time, pound for pound, he was the best. He was an anime character, like on screen. And then Buggy's performance, like he was the Joker in manga form.
Yeah,
So like
he
that
really
was really great to see.
Yeah, actually, that was I thought the same thing while watching. Like that sinister laugh, I was like, wow, it's
The
like,
laugh was good.
it was like Joker or something, and it was nice. The actor might have had to draw some influence from somewhere, and
Mhm.
maybe he drew that from the Joker. And if he did, that's such a cool little detail.
All right, rip your 3.
My 3 from bottom up
Okay.
are Garp, Buggy, and then Nami at number 1.
Okay.
Okay. I'll just go next because we have the same top 3, but different order. My number 1 is going to be. Wait, maybe this was the same order. We'll find. Number 1 was Buggy. Number 2 is Nami. Number 3 was Garp.
I did bottom up.
Yeah, I don't know why, but was it
Did you
the
say
same order?
Nami first or Buggy first? You said Buggy first,
said
right?
Buggy first.
Then I
You
was
had Nami.
Nami.
Okay.
So
Okay, cool. And B Toms?
Yeah. I mean, this is supposed to be top 3.
Not like
up.
acting performances, but capturing of their source
Representation
material.
of the
Yes.
character.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so tough. So 2 people I have are definitely Kobe and Helmeppo. I think both of them just like, yeah, they were
I don't think there's
perfect.
a
They were
wrong
exactly
answer
what they were
here.
supposed to be. And I am kind of grappling with Nami or Zoro. I think both of them did such a good job. So I'm going to cop out and just put slash Nami slash
We'll
Zoro.
allow it for
Take
One
it.
Piece. We'll allow
Yeah,
it.
Zoro, I need a little bit more time, but he was like 4 or 5 for me at the very least.
All right. So now with the best performances out of the way, we're going to again give a little heads up to anyone who is just sticking with the live action. Any manga readers, anime watchers are welcome to hang around, but we are going to kick out anyone who is now only watching the live action. So our advanced, spoiler heavy One Piece conversation here.
Last
So
chance to get out.
yeah, last chance. I'm about to
AP
say it.
One Piece.
All right.
good.
So my first thing that I guess I want to mention is that we did actually see Dragon at the Executioner platform, which first time watching, and even with all the tweets that I've seen, I didn't like. We definitely were supposed to see Mihawk. Shanks, younger Shanks, but seeing the green cloak was so epic because the meaning that is of Logetown and just like coming back to the scene of Logetown and Dragon's gonna be there again.
Yeah,
Oh, like
that's gonna be
it's
that's
gonna-
that
it's
should
so
be the
great.
end of like season 2.
yeah.
Is we go back to Logetown and we see Dragon again.
The other thing I'll comment about the executioner platform is me, Alki, and Luke just kind of saw this tweet, but like basically people were implying that like they saw a female character like out in the stands, just like watching the execution of Gold Roger, and people were like, "That's Crocodile," because of the crocodile theory that Crocodile used to be a woman until Ivanka.
Crocomom.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Crocodile. Yeah,
And we could say Gold D now.
Yeah,
Gold Roger.
all you fucking people listening, it's Gold D Roger. We're not stupid. We know what it is.
I really wonder how many the ratings are amazing. Also, you have to just assume a lot of the ratings are by people who have no One Piece, right? I'm so curious to know how many
New.
One Piece virgins there are, like just
Yeah.
watching One Piece, the live action. Like
I agree.
that'd be sick to know.
What percent do you think it would be? If you had to guess?
If it's like 15, I would be
I was gonna
surprised.
say
More.
like 10. I was
Higher.
Gonna say 10.
What?
higher?
Of people that you think the only people watching this show are, you think 85% of them are
Yes.
readers or watchers? There's not a shot.
Yeah.
It's
I'm
Yeah,
just
not-
not. I'm just not sure what mass appeal it would have to someone just clicking through Netflix who isn't already tuned into anime and manga. So I do think they're relying on the built-in audience. It's the biggest fucking manga in the world. Like there is
Yeah.
an audience that could sustain this show on the budget built in, and you better believe every One Piece fan is watching this show. But yeah, I'm inclined to be close to Aoki's like 15%.
I just feel like this is no matter who you are, this is going to be the show that's plastered onto the top, from the algorithm.
You could
Well,
also
right now
give
it's actually number 1 on Netflix. I saw a tweet like
Yeah,
3 hours
But
ago.
I mean,
Also
just
give it to-
every Netflix account is going to have this recommended in their top 5. It's going to be in the trending charts. People are just going to click it because it's the number 1.
Yeah,
This movie, Big George Foreman, number 2. People are probably clicking that just because
that's a good point. That's a good point. I'm not saying that every single watcher is like a week by week manga reader like us,
The TV
but
shows.
I think that a lot of watchers have seen One Piece before.
Yeah, and I think
a
the
lot,
other-
yeah.
and I guess to go into to defending Luke here, how they could think it, you could think of it too, is also like people probably have heard of One Piece. Like there are plenty of people our age who watch Toonami and like, oh yeah, like I remember One Piece way back in the day, and like, oh, there's a live, yeah, exactly, Gago, like that's memorable. So
Like Kathleen and my dad and Pat are going to watch it. That's 3 people that are just within
yeah, but that's also us.
direct
Like,
circle.
we're like,
It counts. Like they're like
but they've heard. That's kind of what I'm.
they've
talking
heard
about, is that
us
people
talk
okay,
about it for
okay.
the last 15 years.
I think, yeah, the discussion is, would those people be watching it if they weren't adjacent to diehard people who are literally podcasting on the show? I don't
Good
think
question.
Allie would just click on.
No,
the
she's
sh-
not going to click on it even with pressure. But
All right, but let's bring it back to the
Yeah,
spoilers.
sorry.
Okay,
babe.
so
Let's
wait,
bring it back to
so
the spoilers.
did you? I know we have talked about this as a house, but did you times? Have you seen the other wanted posters that were casually hinted at when Luffy and Kobe showed up to
I saw
Shelltown?
Kuro. Who was the other one?
So no, Kuro's was in the.
I think there was
chat,
also-
is in the security.
was
Oh, he was
also
on there
on
too.
It was on the thing.
So
there
this
was
is
one
a-
I couldn't make out.
This is actually amazing. Is they had Foxy and like a casted actor who's going to be Foxy,
and
they have-
Bellamy, right?
Bellamy, and then they have Cavendish, which I think is the craziest one, who's in the straw
Ooh,
hat
yeah.
fleet, like all the way down in Dressrosa.
See,
and
I
like-
don't know if that's. I actually had a little bit of an issue with that because, like, was he in Oda's blueprint that early?
No, probably
No,
not.
why does it
No,
have to be?
So this is actually something I want to kind of bring up here. So if you're here, I'm assuming you're a manga, anime reader, watcher, whatever. A great X account you want to follow is Library of Arthur O'Hara. Sorry, Library of O'Hara on Twitter. They, I don't know what their gender is actually, but they are like the ultimate One Piece guide. Like they have all the theories, like OG theories, everything. That is the account you want to follow on Twitter. And they actually they were a big part of the subtleties of
Easter eggs and stuff.
Easter eggs, exactly. So they were probably the one that came in and were like, "Hey, we have this like wanted board. Like, let's just include some of these great pirates that people can appreciate in the background." Because I know there was also a moment. If you actually see, there's a newspaper clipping and it mentions the Great Broccoli War, which if you go to Library of
Mhm.
O'Hara's fucking One Piece timeline, there is a canon event that is the Broccoli War,
Mhm.
and it's mentioned on the board. So, Library of O'Hara, follow them on Twitter. They are the best One Piece source.
Yeah, for sure. But wait, I want to go back to what you're saying. So what do you mean he wasn't in Oda's blueprint? Because that's for sure a thing in the manga, but that's the benefit of
Like, I'm thinking,
doing
No,
this in
because the
hindsight.
reason why is like, isn't Cavendish actually he became a pirate because of the supernovas?
No, he is. I thought
He's not a supernova.
no, yeah, he's not.
That's why I'm like, okay,
no, I
he
don't think
wouldn't
he
even
got
be a
inspired.
pirate.
No, I don't think he got inspired by
you
this.
know that for a
If
fact. 'cause
anything,
if
he
you
was a
don't, then I don't wanna
pirate
say
and he
that.
got pissed off because Luffy, like, he was an up and coming pirate.
Okay,
Like,
I'm
in his-
reading their wiki. According to him, when he became a pirate, he was very famous and well known.
Yeah, and then Luffy
but when the
came in.
supernovas
Yeah.
Okay, so
appeared,
yeah,
their
okay.
daring acts of Rufus stole his glory. So never mind.
But
Yeah.
to go into your blueprint, I think a lot of what we know in like Wano and all this shit, like none of this was like blueprinted in these episodes when they first came out.
Yeah, you want to talk about an obvious one? Hockey.
Yes,
Oh yes, that's
that was a
big one.
change for sure. With that, that has to be what that was, right?
was
Like
so
that was
hard.
Yeah, like they were making it obvious, like he has conquered,
Yeah.
he has something. It wasn't just like
Yes.
Shanks being strong.
Like I think they, yeah, exactly. I think they
Mm-hmm.
really went into it being like, it's like when you read this or watch it for the first time, like the OG episode and chapter, it's just more so like it seems like intimidation more so than an actual ability. But here, with like the quivering of the eye and like the
And
eye
the
contact,
pupil. The
yeah, like I
pupil
feel like that
getting
really
condensed.
emphasizes that Conquer Hockey is established.
yes.
I
Well,
think it's really
it's-
cool. Yeah, sorry, Brian.
Is that not a thing that Oda probably only established later in the series?
Yeah,
and
it's like
then
these blueprints.
probably
retconned.
people used it to retcon. So the advantage of having this live action and
Yes,
be able to
exactly.
do it again from the start, this is an
Exactly.
enhancement, I would say. Because
Yeah,
how the hell
absolutely.
else would he?
Absolutely.
I'm
Cool.
really
Yeah,
I'm
man.
really curious to see how they build the idea of hockey. I
That was
mean,
one
it's
thing
like
I saw.
probably when it comes to anime, there's always geekiness, like hockey and all that, those arguments about who's stronger. Like that's like as geeky as and dorky as you can get. I'm not saying it'll be bad. I'm just really curious to see how they're going to paint that picture.
Like especially when like you get to the second time we're at Logtown when Luffy's execution and like Dragon saves Luffy, like he touches Smoker, you know, like it's a thing that he's like able to physically touch Smoker. And I think like I'm wondering if like they're gonna emphasize the armament hockey there, or are they just gonna kind of blow over it like the original
Well,
manga did.
Again, is that a retcon moment though? Anyway, it doesn't matter. They're gonna do something with it. I'm curious to see how.
I feel like we saw Yasop's redirect bullet shot would have been like his
Observation?
observation hockey in the heat of battle.
Oh, actually, I didn't even consider that,
They
Brian.
all have
That's a
hockey
good
at
one.
this point. They're freaking emperors.
They
crew.
would, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Did they? That was 10 years. Like,
Shanks already dealt with Blackbeard. Was already like that. You don't
like he
think?
might not have gotten
Well,
the
Shanks
title
already
yet.
had a handle on Conqueror's hockey clearly at that point, so it's
Yeah.
not a leap to think the
Could
rest of the
we
crew would
say-
at least.
He already made
But
it. At that
counter
point,
argument,
it's him
do
like
we
making
know?
it around the Grand Line once already, right? Isn't that what
Shanks
they
was on the
say?
Pirate crew. He
How
already
do you know
did
he
it.
didn't
and-
just like instinctive, like not like plan him using Conquer. Like how do we know he wasn't like just like in the moment, like how Luffy when he knocks out the wolves when he's trying to save Bon Clay and Impel down, like that was like a product of the situation. Like Shanks' situation here of using Conqueror's hockey could have been a product
True.
of the environment rather than him actually just being like, I know how to control this.
It's
In my-
possible. I just didn't know if he's already fighting with
something that's-
Blackbeard, who already.
But no, he's clearly already had that fight if he has the
Yeah.
scars. But I
Mhm.
don't think like a Yonkou wouldn't be clawed by Blackbeard. You know what I mean? Like
I think it was before he was officially a
like, I
Yonko
think he'll
title.
get to the Grand Line. Like he'll sail to the Grand Line and make a name for himself as a Yonkou later, and Luffy will,
Either way,
eventually
there's
find
no
out.
answers.
I,
talking
In my head canon, the thing about the hockey is like maybe Oda didn't have a name for it, but he knew there was like some kind of force that people like Luffy or
This is
Shanks
something I'm sure
were
we could find
capable
out
of.
actually on the internet. Like I'm pretty sure at the time that
Yeah,
he
all right,
did
we don't
not
have to-
a plan.
We don't have to
Yeah.
keep going back and forth about it, but I just thought it was a good representation of what we know to be hockey
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
show.
I took it as notes as that was hockey.
And you're right asking the right questions about at least armament hockey and observation hockey. Like how are they going to represent those to the audience when they get introduced?
I think that while the show is obviously paced so quickly, like actually, the Orange Town, the buggy arc was like 20 chapters or something. It was one episode, but I really don't think anything was missing.
I didn't
I
feel like they were rushed at all.
yeah, while it was quick, it didn't feel rushed. I'm
And he'll be
happy about
back,
that.
I'm sure, the buggy actor. Couple things I had written down that are just quick hitters. Did Accent Morgan actually capture Captain Kuro? Was that a thing? I don't remember that being a
I'm
thing.
sorry. Yeah, that one I do not know.
I think that was made up for the show, which is fine. That's a good
I
way
think it's
to
just an easy way for them to trampoline into the
and
next
show,
arc.
yeah.
Yeah.
So the other two things I had written here were the intro with Roger. I love the little moment with Garp telling him, saying, "I warned you. You brought this
Yes.
on yourself," because they're not enemies, like, at all. From
Mhm.
everything we know about Roger and Garp and like their relationship, like Garp didn't want him to die. Like that was not something that was in the plan. So that little moment did it for me, I would say, as like a, just for manga and anime.
Absolutely. I mean, that was something that was completely new. Like Garp was not the one announcing this
Yeah,
shit.
Garp wasn't there at
and
all. Yeah.
It is really cool that
Cool.
we get that subtle
We didn't
quote
see it.
of, like you said, it's just him being like, I warned you about this. And so like even that, I think viewers should be able to pick up on and be like, there is a history between these two. It's not just they're fighting
Marine
each other.
pirate,
Yeah,
yeah,
like
yeah,
there's a little bit of a history here. So
That Kuro thing is canon. It might not
It
have
was?
been mentioned in this part, but it says on his wiki, he slew through a ship full of Marines, sparing only Morgan to use him as an unwilling accomplice to arrest and execute a decoy.
So
mm.
then he fakes his death.
Yeah,
goes
so
up on
Morgan
Sand
is
Village.
as a fraud, and he's using this thing
That
that he
kind of-
captured Kuro as a
Ah.
way to enhance his
himself.
status.
It's been a while,
but in
so-
actuality, it's
Because he does the same
bullshit.
thing at the end of whatever episode that was when he's like talking about like, oh, the pirates came, I decided like I let them go, but that was because I decided to like
Yeah.
save my troops, which wasn't true at all. So this
Yeah, he's
all
full of
ties
shit.
in. That's great. That is awesome.
Last thing I had written down, Shanks tells Luffy, I guess he was just talking to him because he was a kid and saying things, but Shanks says, like, Luffy says, "Are you going to go look for the One Piece?" And he says yes. And like, from what we know, that's not the case.
Like he just kind of sails the seas, like he's not
Like,
actively looking for the One Piece.
I'm pretty sure relatively recently he said like it's time to make our move for the One Piece. Or
You're
something
right. Like that is a big thing in the manga that happens. I'm sorry, B-Tom. You can,
It's really not that
it's
big.
not-
It's
yeah,
not
yeah.
that big.
but he
it's
does.
just like
You're
a
right.
thing
He
that
does
they
announce.
should have paid attention to that wording of him saying yes, I'm going for.
But
the
you
One
could
Piece."
argue, like, overall, sure, he might not be like that. Might not be X marks the spot on his map that he has in his like breast
But it's
pocket,
always going to be.
but
in the
it's always
background.
like there.
Sure.
Yeah.
I just thought of that little moment as something that
Is there any other spoilery things that we want to talk about?
the
here
Goa
before we-
Kingdom line was pretty cool.
Yeah, so the Goa Kingdom, that's really cool because we obviously know that
Kabaji's
Saba's brother.
right? So Kabaji's brother is how it gets mentioned, that Zoro chased them across the Goa Kingdom, and then
That's going to be it for our coverage of Netflix's One Piece live action. As usual, if you like what you heard, subscribe to us on whatever podcast app you're listening to us on. We're always dropping new content. Right now, we're covering the Wheel of Time and Jujutsu Kaisen. So if you're looking for more anime content, you should hang around, subscribe. Me, Aoki, and Kyle have been loving the new season. Follow us at Bingetown TV on all socials, x.com, Instagram, you name it. Be sure to check out our Discord. It's building a lot of steam, and we're building a really great community. So we will have a link for that in the description of the episode. But other than that, once again, we are Bingetown TV, and thanks for listening.